Godforge beta is here. Whether you were seeing this before, on, or after May 19th, the Godforge beta round 1 is going to be occurring for 2 weeks, starting on May 19th at 3 p.m. UTC. If you've already signed up, you are good to go. But if you have not yet, I have a link down in the description below to be able to go in, register, and then get access into the beta experience. You are going to receive an email like this in your mailbox sometime after 3 p.m. UTC. They send these emails out in batches of a couple thousand at a time, and so do be patient as that time, passes. But as you can see right here, regardless of whatever kind of device you want to play on, all of the links are going to be available. This is going to simplify the process in terms of us having to say, whether or not we are going with this device or this device. You can play on multiple devices, etc. But when it comes to the types of devices, it is supported on Android, iOS, Mac, PC, all of those. You are going to want to have a phone that has 6 gigabytes of RAM in order to play it on high, but even still, it's going to make your phone rather warm. They are still optimizing and making the game better on systems like that, but it is doable. He does state that, potentially even iPhones all the way down to like iPhone 13 could potentially play Godforge on them, but at that level, you're going to want to change your settings down to low so that the graphics aren't taking such a toll on your device. For everybody who is a part of the mini game experience, this is the Godforge Quest mini game. You are going to be able to access your mini game rewards inside of the Godforge beta. That doesn't mean that we're going to lose them for early access. They're going to be available and usable not only in the beta, but once again in early access. So go to godforge.gg, go to your account information, go to your profile, and then on the left side, there's going to be this section that says rewards. If there's information here on the screen, you're going to be able to earn and get these into your account when you start playing the beta. And then again, when you start using and playing early access. Don't forget, everybody, that my channel is continuing to grow and you can show support by hitting that subscribe button down below. This week, when I start live streaming on Tuesday, I will be live streaming Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I can't wait to see you there. Now, when you start playing Godforge for the first time, you are going to have the option to select one of 3 starter champions. This is very common, like with other hero collectors like Raid Shadow Legends, and your options are going to be Ramses, Guan Yu, or Lady Jacques. Ramses has poison, which I believe removes the abilities granted to you by gear, as well as the poison tick damage, a dot effect. Guan Yu does max HP damage, and so a lot of damage on bosses. And then Lady Jacques brings a lot of bleed damage and AoEs. All in all, they are very good. I myself am going to be starting with Guan Yu, and so that's something to consider. But I've also heard a lot of people wanting to look into Ramses as well. In Godforge Beta, Simon has gone over exactly what areas of the game we're going to be able to play. And you can see here on the screen that Arena and Tower, I'm a little bit in the way, but Arena and Tower are locked. Those types of games are going to be available for us to try in a different round of beta. Now, we don't know exactly when those rounds are going to be, but that's all in the future. For this beta, we have the dungeon and the campaign that are going to be available for us to play. What has been mentioned, let's see if I can grab it here. It doesn't look like it's necessarily a part of the screen. I think he might be hiding it, but there are going to be multiple difficulties inside of the campaign to play. There's basically going to be 3 difficulties. And what Simon has said, at least, is that he's going to be surprised if many players at all get to that 3rd difficulty, but I think he's probably once again kind of downplaying the commitment of some of the Godforge community that is super passionate about this game and have been into just following Fateless for a very long time. I think we're going to see a lot more players in that 3rd round than are expected. And there are going to be story points for us to be able to experience and give feedback on in terms of how we like it, how it lands with us, and whether or not it's distracting or engaging for the greater campaign of Godforge. These are the Ascension dungeons that we're going to have access to. We have the Shrine of Hercules, Guan Yin's Lotus Temple, Forest Glade of Kitsune, and Anwin. And then we're going to have these 3 dungeons. We're going to have the Workshop of Ptah, Svarog's Hoard, and Hag's Hollow. Now, we do do not know all of the mechanics of all of these yet. Specifically, I believe we're most in the dark about Ptah right now. But you can see here that the Workshop and the Horde, both of these are gear dungeons, while Hog's Hollow is going to be like, I believe it's like a weapon, yeah, weapons dungeon. It says right there as I hover over it. You can also see here, this wasn't talked about specifically in the most recent video, but these dungeons appear to be locked until we go through the Virage realm, stage 10. And from what I recall, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay, so that means we need to potentially, if there's 10, yeah, 30, which there's 3 stars per round. So there's 10 stages per realm within the campaign. And so we're looking to completing 30 rounds, 30 levels in the campaign before you can be able to start farming for gear. Now, something that's very important to note here is that in general, we are going to have a normal experience when it comes to gaining heroes inside of Godforge. That means that we're actually going to be summoning heroes, gaining the resources, and playing the game as expected. And so we will gain the summoning crystals, the Aether Stones, I believe, and going into the Godforge here and being able to summon them and experience those rates for the first time. We're going to be able to earn rewards of various rarities and try to get heroes. And so this is not going to be like the alpha experience, like many of you may have played before when we were farming for heroes and literally going to a level and playing it overnight and coming back with like, you know, a roster full of legendaries. That experience is no more. This is going to be Godforge as they intend it, with the proper drop rates, the proper, you know, consistency of when we actually get the summoning resources. And so also be on the lookout for that in terms of how that feels. Inside of the Sanctum, there's going to be several areas that are going to be available to us. The Bazaar, the Crucible, quests, and the Smithy are all going to be unlocked for the Godforge beta. The Bazaar is going to be our typical shop. And what Simon has said is there's actually several areas that are very different just in terms of what has been done in the past or what some of us have experienced. I'll get to the calendars here in a second. But this right here, I think he's going to, oh, he actually goes to the shop when we can use the rubies that we're going to be gaining. There are calendars and other things in here. I'll dive into that a little bit, but here we go. Here's the Bazaar. This is the Gold Emporium as it's labeled here, and this is where we get to use our currency, our gold that we earn in the game for various resources. And what has been said is that there's a lot of RNG in this shop. Like the Aetherstone cache right here, I believe it has a chance of various, I believe the Aetherstone cache, as we see here, actually has a chance of various rarities, and as well as the armor crates here are really just a lucky pull. Like, can you get a good piece of equipment from this pull? Honestly, if I'm talking to you about your beta, we have 2 weeks to play. This, unless you are getting a ridiculous amount of gold, this is not somewhere you should be giving your attention. Within the beta, there's also going to be calendars. We have the daily login calendar, which is an actual glimpse of what the regular calendar is going to be for the early access. Now, what I would say is that that is subject to change. So don't take this just for granted that this is always going to be there. But also note, as you're looking at this, that we only have access for 14 days to the beta. And so that means the first, second, third, and half of the fourth row are the only things that we're going to gain by logging in daily if you are logging in every day. But what is more important is actually this next calendar, Riven's Chosen. And this is specifically beta, just round 1 beta, daily login for various rewards for in-game, but also some nice like titles and banners and things that we get to keep for the long run. There's going to be a banner, there's going to be a frame, and there's going to be, I forget exactly what this is called, but like the frame that actually goes around your name. If you log in for these 14 days, you're going to be gaining these resources. You can see on the second half, they definitely lean more towards rubies for really maximizing your progress. That's kind of what they go for. And he said himself that while we experienced a lot of energy drops in the alpha, their expectation is that they're not going to be doing the same thing in the beta. So just keep that in mind. Granted, this is also Fateless. This is Simon or whomever it is who actually makes that decision. I could see some things being a little bit different, especially if players hit this hard and then just cap out on energy very quickly. I know they're going to want to have players in there consistently, but still, don't plan on just unlimited energy. Now, that does bring up a good point in terms of Godforge, is that energy consumption is a little bit different than some of the other gotcha games out there. Like Raid Shadow Legends, for example, uses energy no matter what happens. Well, when you are progressing through campaign successfully, or if you fail a campaign level, you don't burn energy, meaning that the energy that you have is going to be a lot more valuable to you when it comes back to farming. Now, for you mid-maxers out there, this does create a little bit of confusion or a little bit of stress because you're going to log in and begin, just pushing through the content and not really using energy. And so how necessarily you may want to use that energy quickly so that as you continue to progress, you're not necessarily just like wasting that time that you could be gaining back. That's kind of on you. I don't necessarily have a recommendation for that, but that's just something to keep in mind as we get into the beta. When playing inside of the Godforge beta, we are going to be able to earn tokens of valor by completing content for the first time, and I believe for farming it as well. And tokens of valor are a resource, a currency that is going to be earned by participating in testing inside of Godforge and for Fateless for the foreseeable future. What this is a currency that's going to be available to us for an in-game shop once early access comes around. We don't know what kind of stuff is going to be in there, but Simon is alluding to that it's some pretty cool stuff. So you're definitely going to want to earn these. And what he also calls out is that their intention right now for well down the line is that they're going to have kind of like a beta server, like a testing server. Not necessarily a testing server like we understand content creators have access to, but an actual like testing of new content for some percentage of players to be able to experience. And when that is done, when let's say they have a new gameplay, a new like type of game, not game, but like a different dungeon or a new, area of the game that they're wanting to test, they plan on pushing that to a beta testing server first. And if you participate in testing that new content, you are going to also earn tokens of valor for the future. So this is a currency that isn't going to go away in the long run. It's actually something that's going to continually be around for us to be able to earn and use in the game itself. I'm really excited to see what's going to be available to use. I wouldn't be surprised if there was more cosmetics, or maybe, one legendary Aether Stone. I don't know. We really, literally have no idea, but I really wouldn't be surprised if it was heavy on the cosmetics. We'll see. For those of you who may not be as familiar with the Godforge world and Fateless and what they're doing, two of their secret sauces is going to be their Smithy and their weapon system, as well as the Imprint system. And I'll go over both of those just very briefly for those of you who are looking to Godforge for the first time. For weapons, they are going to have additional stats, so a primary stat and a secondary stat. You can see that this weapon here has the primary stat of attack percentage and a secondary stat of crit rate. This is a great weapon for a damage dealer. But not only do they have stats, they have an ability. So they heal this hero by 10% of the damage inflicted to an enemy. But wait, there's more. I'll get to that in a second. It has to do with imprints, but basically there's going to be resources to be able to basically refine and make these weapons stronger. You're also, I think, going to be able to forge weapons with other material that you gain. And then you're going to be able to imprint onto them. And that is where we get to the imprint system inside of Godforge. You are going to be able to take duplicate heroes that you gain and break them down, extract their passive ability into an imprint, and receive a lesser version of that imprint. So, for example, here, Isolde's Heart's Echo is her imprint, and it says when an allied defender is attacked, heal 5% max HP of this hero. And that is the hero that holds the weapon that the imprint is on. And so these two things are going to kind of go together. If you don't know Isolde's passive, it's 10% max HP instead of 5%. And so any kind of percentile that you see in a hero's passive, you can assume, at least as a starting point, that half of that is going to be kind of what the imprint does. And so, yeah, if you aren't familiar with these systems, or even if you are, these two and how they work with the game and hero building and game design, that's going to be a critical part for Fateless to understanding how their beta lands with their players. So keep this in mind as you engage inside of the Godforge beta. To those of you who like a little competition, there is going to be a leaderboard on godforge.gg. They're going to be announcing that, kind of sharing that link and making it live on the site once the game is actually there. But, it may not be everybody's cup of tea. It is important to know, guys, that this is a Godforge beta. This is just testing. And so after the 2 weeks of beta, all progress will be wiped. This is the time to experiment, to test, to not worry about the outcome, because at the end of the day, what we do over the next 2 weeks is not going to last in the long haul. As mentioned before, the tokens of Valor will last. They will carry over into early access, and you will once again earn your mini game quest rewards if you participated in them. But other than that, everything else you gain, everyone you summon, is going to be completely wiped, and you will not have those on your account. You have the swag you earn from logging in. Early access, you're going to have the tokens of Valor, and you're going to have the hero and imprint and weapon and icon portrait that you gain for the minigame. And so, guys, that's everything. Just a couple of days away. I'm so stoked to be able to get in there and play and to be able to live stream and engage with the community. Hit that subscribe button down below, and I will see you in a live stream.